Now that we've got all the cases primed, what we're going to do is look at my load data that I put together a while back. Now, you can use a loading book like I do, or you can refer back to previous loads if you've already tested them for accuracy. So this one right here has a Sierra Game King 65 grain bullet, and it is 23.5 grains of AR comp powder. The case is trimmed to 1.756 and uses a Federal small rifle primer, and I'm going to be shooting this out of my AR-15 full length and pistol. You can get loading data out of a book like this, or you can find it online, but always work on your low end and work your way up to where you're happy with your load, and never go over the max loads. Next thing you're going to need is a set of dies. This set of dies has a depriming and sizing tool, and I broke this one because one of the cases I was depriming had a bullet had fallen into the case. Apparently picked up range brass where somebody had a bad jam, and the bullet had fallen inside the case, and I didn't see it when I went to deprime it, and that's what happened to the tip. That's why in the previous video I showed you a 308 depriming instead of this one, is because, well, I'm waiting for my new tool to arrive. Anyway, this is a bullet seating die. This is a shell holder for the press, and this is a crimp die. All these are set at the right length right now, so all I've really got to do is put them in a bushing for this Lee press and tighten them down and start pushing the bullet in. This is a powder dropper. You fill this container up with powder and you set how much you want to drop, and then you turn this lever and the powder drops out the bottom. Now I've got mine mounted to my desk. You can also mount it up here and drop it directly into the top of the die into the case. But what I like to do is to fill up a tray of these and then do a visual check inside of each case to make sure that the level of powder looks right visually, not just relying on the action of this lever to do the job for me, because I don't want any squib loads in my AR-15. A squib load is when you've just got a primer and no powder or light powder, and your bullet exits the case because of the pressure of the primer only, and then gets jammed in the barrel, and then that may or may not eject the case, but then your next round that comes through will either not feed, or it'll feed and go off with a obstruction in the barrel and can cause your barrel to explode even. So that's not a good situation. So I want to visually inspect 50 at a time cases before I start putting the bullets in. The grain measurement marks on the back of this scale balance beam should be on 0, and as you can see, there's a white mark above the 0 and a white mark above the 9, and there's like a half a mark between the 1 and the 8. That shows me that it's dead 0. Also, this ball bearing is on 0. So if that is on 0 and that's on 0, the scale should be balanced, and it is. Now, if for some reason it's not, you can adjust this screw here, this weight, and pull it back further or forward to make your scale balance out to 0. And that's where we're going to load from. So now I can take this and adjust it out to 25.5 grains, and we'll have an accurate measurement. See this case, for example. This was a recommended load of 25.5 grains, and I loaded it. It filled up the case and overflowed. So there's no way I could actually load that safely. So the reason why I have a 23.5 grain load is I backed down from this until I was happy with it. After I zeroed my scale, I set the ball bearing to 20, and I set the indicator to 3.5 here. Now I'm going to drop some powder After I set it to what I think is pretty close, it's the 2 mark. We'll see what this weighs. This is going to be a little more, I guess a little on the high side. So what we'll do, I'm going to turn it back about a 1/4 of a turn. Actually the other way. Turn it in about a 1/4 of a turn. That reduces the amount of powder. That's going to get us pretty close. About another 1/4 turn. What we're doing is fine-tuning this. It may take 10-15 tries. I'll skip through this on the camera so you don't have to be bored to death. Okay, that's good right there. That's 1. Let's see if I can get a repeat of that. Oh, that's great. Let's get 1 more before we know we're consistent. And that's 3. I'm going to get 1 more. Wow. I think we're ready to fill cases now. You want to make sure you hold it here until you can hear that it's finished dropping. Now I'm just putting the case mouth under the dispenser. You can also use a funnel. So you got a visual that it's dropping. See what happened there? There was something obstructing the case mouth. The powder didn't drop properly, so I need to clear that and redo this after I clean up all the powder. Now I've got powder in all 50 of these cases. Now what I want to do is turn them up where I can see. I'm not sure if you can see this on camera or not, but I want to go down here and do a visual of each case. You can see some reflecting in there. I'll make sure there's none that are missing powder, none that are light on powder, and none that are heavy on powder. Now what I do see is one case right here that seems to have a little more in it than the others. And I'm going to do this one again. That case tends to have a little bit more in the neck than the others. It could just be the case thickness, because there is a variance in cases. This particular case is a it's a 223 Remington. Tends to be the 5.56 cases that run a little thick, but we're just going to go with that. So now we've got the bullet seating die. It's already set to the right depth. Just going to lock that into the press. Now if you have any concerns, the dies will tell you what the maximum overall length should be. Now this will be adjusted based on the depth of your riflings, and mine has already been adjusted. So I can take this case, take a bullet, set it in the case mouth, and ease it up into the die. That should set this bullet at the right depth. And we're not going to crimp the neck yet. That's going to be on the second step. So we'll just set this round here and move to the next. So now I've got 50 rounds with bullets in the cases. I'm going to switch out the bullet seating die and install the bullet crimping die. And what this one does, it squeezes the end of the case onto the bullet. Basically squeezes right here and tightens this up. Sometimes I like to do it twice, and that turns it just a little bit and tightens it. It's a nice smooth crimp. Where this, I can feel it jagged. Push that in. Nice and smooth. Now we've got 50 rounds of loaded, ready to shoot 5.56 ammunition. As you can see, these cases are a little bit oily from the case lube. That's fine. You can clean these up if you want, remove any of this. You can roll it around in a towel to get the oil off. Or you can also put this back in a tumbler, loaded cases in a tumbler, in a vibrating tumbler. But only leave it in there for 2-3 minutes max. Reason why is because you've got powder in here and you don't want that powder to start breaking down due to the vibrations. So that'll help, you know, with any of the oil or dirt or anything on these cases. So I'm going to do that and see what the result is. So I've got my tumbler ready. I've got 50 rounds of ammo. Live ammo. I'm going to drop it in here. Let's turn it on, watch it explode. I am watching a timer. Alright, that's 2 minutes. I'm going to turn it off and see what we have. This is what they look like after 2 minutes in the vibrator tumbler. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put these in a towel and roll them around for just a second and see how shiny they come out. So I put them in an old towel. Just going to roll them around in the towel to get the dust off. They look really nice. So here's my load data. (9, 10, 20). Sierra Game King 65 grain. AR comp powder 23.5 grains. The case is 1.756, and the primer is Federal Small Rifle, and the gun I'm going to be shooting this out of is a 16-inch AR-15 and an 8.5-inch AR-15 pistol. So now I have 50 rounds of hand-loaded ammunition. This stuff should be way more accurate than factory ammunition. I think I'll be really happy with these. Now I've got to do this 150. And one thing you do want to do is to check to see how well this loads in your magazine. This fits perfectly in my magazines. I've already put 5 rounds in there. I want to also do a function check and see how it cycles through the action. I'm not going to fire this yet, but I'm going to cycle it through the rifle. Alright, I've got my AR-15 pistol on safe. I've got the magazine in with 5 rounds, nothing in the chamber. Now I'm going to cycle the action to see how well this works. 1 in the chamber, ejected, second round. Hold open, nothing left, nothing in the chamber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. It's fine to me. Well, thanks for watching this video. I had fun making it. I hope it is useful. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to try to help you out. But keep in mind, my load data may not work for you. I've found other people's load data that was completely unsafe. So you need to work up your own load data using manufacturer's minimum levels and then work up from there. But I would suggest never go over the max. Don't try to do hot loads, zombie loads, mixing powder, or anything like that. I believe that's totally unsafe and unnecessary. It also will, if it doesn't blow up your rifle, it will reduce the barrel life. So just use common sense and be safe with it. I appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.